Hey there, welcome to Threads. My name is Joe and I'm really excited to have you with me on exploring a bit of music theory. Today we're looking at the Nashville Number System, and I know that there are like hundreds of videos on YouTube about the Nashville Number System, but today we're going to give you a little bit extra as well. So if you're familiar with the number system, then perhaps you might want to learn something new. If these words on the board are a bit unfamiliar to you, then there's something that you can get from this video. If you've never heard of the Nashville Number System, then we'll be doing some entry-level stuff as well. So come on board for the ride. So as worship musicians, we work with oftentimes something called the Nashville Number System. So if you hear someone talking about chords using numbers, then essentially that's what we're talking about. And we're going to go with an overview of what that means today. So if we take a song like Surrounded, which is quite popular at the moment, the chords in that, if we play that in F major, because the original's in F sharp, and we'll go easy on me today, we'll play it in F. So the chords are B flat, F, C. So that's a B flat, F, C, and a D. So if we wanted to change that into the key of C, one of the useful tools that we have is referring to the chords as numbers, because they can be transferred throughout the different keys. So what do I mean by that? Let's start with a really basic, the key of C. You all know that the scale of C major has 7 different notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we're back to C. So there's 7 different notes, and you can build a chord off of each of those notes by stacking thirds on top of each other. So in C, we have C major, and that's our root chord, that's our what we call tonic, but we'll get to that in a second. You can stack thirds on top of the D. So you get a D minor, E minor. So if we number each of these notes throughout the scale, the key of C, we can then attribute a chord to a number. And then these chords can be applied not just to the key of C, but to other keys. So let's take the key of C for now. And on my lovely whiteboard, we're going to have a look at what this means. So we're using Roman numerals because in the classical tradition, we used to use Roman numerals. The Nashville number system, it might be called the Nashville number system, but it's a number system that's derived from a system that's been used for centuries, and it uses Roman numerals. So today, that's what we're going to use. So chord 1 in the key of C is C major. That's our home chord. That's where the tonal center of the key of C rests. And we call that, in music theory world, the tonic. So that's the name of chord 1. So, in the key of C, that chord is C major. Let's walk it up. So, chord 2 is built off the 2nd scale degree, so it's D, and we stack thirds on top of that, so it's actually a minor chord, D minor, because we can't stack a major third without it being outside of the key of C. So the thirds on top of D that is in the key of C is an F and then an A. So that's D minor, so we can write that down. We can move on, and that's also, by the way, that's called the supertonic, because super means above, and tonic was the one we played before, so the one above the tonic is called the supertonic. Really easy. Next one along is E minor. Real simple. You're starting to get the hang of it, I'm sure. And we call that the mediant. That's chord 4, and that is F major in the key of C. Sorry about my handwriting. And the name of that will make sense in a second. So chord 5 is a G major, and that's called the dominant. It's a really important chord. And so chord 4 is called the subdominant because sub means below and it's below the dominant. So real simple. Chord 6 is also a very important chord. In C, it's an A minor. So I'm writing that down. We call it submedian because sub means below, and the median was 3 above the tonic. Sub means below, so it's going to be 3 below the tonic. The special thing about the submedian is that it's also called the relative minor. So the minor key, the key of A minor, has all the same notes as the key of C major. So they're related, closely related. It's the relative minor. Finally, we have chord 7, which is the leading note. It's called that because this really leads to, so it's called the leading note. When you stack thirds on top of the leading note, you get a lovely diminished chord, B diminished. And that's not really useful in our context as worship musicians, but it is useful to know. And we'll exchange some of these out for more useful alternatives in just a second. But this is the general idea. If you think of numbers, if you just want to think of a key, that was awful. If you want to think of a key, a number, each note, then you can easily draw this from it. Does that make sense so far? I hope so. So what can we do with this? Now we know, number 1, that chord 1 is major, chord 2 is minor, chord 3 is minor, chord 4 major, major, minor, and diminished. These properties of a key, these kind of tonal qualities of a key, aren't unique to C. They are ubiquitous among all keys. So if I change this to F major now, I know that the first chord, chord 1, will be major, the second chord will be minor, the third chord will be minor, the fourth major, fifth major, and so on and so forth. So it's wherever you go, whatever key, you know that this is the kind of what you're looking for, the tonal qualities that will be found in each key. It's worth bearing in mind that the Nashville number system, as far as I'm aware, it describes songs in the relative major. So even if the key is technically in a minor key, so for example, Reckless Love, that's really in D minor because it settles there most. But I've never been in a band that says, oh yeah, we're playing that in D minor, we play it in F major, and we describe it with the chords of F. So we say that's a 6, 5, 4, 1. So that's the only caveat to this. So if we head back to the key of C, and we use the chords that we have, some things to bear in mind. The most common chords that we have and that we use are chord 1, which would be C in this case, chord 4, F, chord 5, chord 5, and chord 6, which is that A minor. We can do some interesting things. Instead of playing an E minor for a 3, oftentimes people play an inversion of the first chord. So we will play C minor triad and just flip that C on top of it so that the E is in the bass. So you might have a chord progression like this. And that's starting on that C over E. Yep. Also to bear in mind, we rarely use a diminished chord in worship music, better or for worse. But what we can do is do another inversion. So there is a chord, that has the note of B in it, and it's a very strong chord, a very useful chord, and it's our chord 5. Chord 5 in C is made up of G, B, and D. So if we just flip the G on top of the chord and play the B in the bass, we have quite a strong chord that's pulling us towards 1. So now we can play things like this. And so I was moving from the tonic, chord 1, through to a chord based off the leading note, but using the notes of G major. So a G in first inversion, or G over B, and then going down to 6. And those kind of stepwise movements are really strong, so we like to use those. So here's where the fun of the Nashville music system comes in, because I can get rid of these, and I can change the key, and we can start having some fun. So let's go to the key of F. Our first chord is going to be a major, so we know that's going to be F major. Super easy. Our next chord, built off the G, it's going to be minor, with G minor. We know how to play G minor. That's great. Third chord, it's going to be built off the A minor. But we also remember that we can play F over A if we want to, so we can do something like this, which leads nicely into chord 4. And chord 4 is a B flat major. And then our nice dominant chord, chord 5 is a C major. Going up to our submedian, our chord 6 is a D minor. And then finally we have But again, like I said, we can do a C over E, and that is a bit more usable. So we can do things like, and that was an F, a C over E, D minor, F over A, to a B flat. And so that's kind of exchanging this for C over E, and exchanging this for F over A. And the fun continues because I could pick any key, and then we can work out really easily what the chords will be. And then the punchline is this, basically. If I describe a song with numbers instead of chords, I can, in theory, know how to play it in any key. So let's take this song by Upper Room, Surrounded. The chorus goes like this. And that is just a 1 over 3, or F over A in F, and then a 4, and then a 5, and then a 6. So what if I wanted to play that in B flat? I know what my 3 is, it's a D, and I know my 1 is a B flat, so it would be something like that. Our 4 is an E flat, our 5 is F, our 6 is a G minor. What if I want to play that in A major? Same again, real simple. And you have to know that I'm not thinking about the chords every time I'm moving between different keys. I'm not thinking that, oh, it's going to be this chord and then this chord and this chord. I am thinking about the numbers, and I know that in each key, I know what the numbers are because I've studied this. But when I think about the numbers, it makes that progression really easy to transfer between keys. Cool. So that's all I have time for you today. I really appreciate you coming for the ride. I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope that you've learned something new today. So get practicing, get exploring and investigating all you can do with this system. See you next time.